Hey everybody, Eric Joseph Lewis here at the beautiful Shangri-La Resort and Farm here in Bonita Springs, Florida. This is a beautiful example of what sustainable regenerative agriculture can really look like in a tropical system, and the system has been at work for over 100 years now, so it's really a good example of the longevity of these types of practices. So let's take a walk in here and see what we got going on. So here, as soon as we walk in on the right, we've got this big, beautiful burly mango, and it's really loaded with a bunch of flowers. So this thing will probably produce quite a bit of fruit this year. For those who don't know, mangoes are a member of the Anacardiaceae family, and you can really see the resemblance to sister ivy, or poison ivy sometimes folks call it, or itchy ivy I like to call it, when you look at these flowers. So this is Magnifera indica, so that means it's from India, and or originally from the Indus area of the world, so the Hindu area of the world, which is the land between the Himalayas and the Indian Ocean. So yeah, Magnifera indica in the Anacardiaceae family, the mighty mango. Give thanks. Here we've got a beautifully pruned strawberry tree, it's often called, and this is Muntingia calibura. And take a look at that beautiful flower there. Nice little friend hanging out on it, some kind of a wasp. But this is in its own family, the Muntingiaceae family, and it's got an incredible fruit and produces just about year round. So this is a great tropical permaculture tree, tropical food producer that is very easy to grow, propagates from both cuttings and seeds. Very, very tasty. I liken the fruits to like the flavor of like milk after you've eaten Fruity Pebbles. That's how my buddy Raleigh Barnum describes it. But yeah, Muntingia calibura, the strawberry tree. Here we have a beautiful young Loquat tree still establishing itself. This is in the Rosaceae family, and this is a great winter bearer as well. The fruits are kind of peachy, and I don't know exactly how to describe it. Maybe somewhere between a peach and an apricot. Very, very sweet though, and very easy to cultivate. The Loquat is originally from Asia, and you can see that in the Latin name of it, which is Areobotria japonica, and japonica being a reference to its place of origin, so in Japan. And here you can see one of the fruits forming right up here. So it does have some fruit, not the most productive variety I suppose, but some of these can just grow like absolute weeds and be super duper prolific. So Loquat is another favorite tropical permaculture plant in my book. I think especially because I tend to visit the tropics in the winter, so I love fruits that are very productive, easy to grow, require no care, and fruit in the winter, because then I get to enjoy the fruits. So Areobotria japonica, the mighty Loquat. Here we can see a nice little example of Malba viscous arborea. This is a member of the hibiscus family. It's a great one that's loaded with flowers, definitely all through the winter, and I hear through most of the year. And so yeah, this is Malba viscous arborea, also known as the Turk's cap hibiscus. And these little flowers are just absolutely wonderful little snacks. and a great addition to any salad. They add a nice mucilaginous quality to a salad that really gives it that kind of nice throat coating sort of a feel, and that mucilage is also going to help feed the beneficial gut bacteria in our digestive system. So Malba viscous arborea, definitely an excellent plant to have in any tropical forest garden. Growing right next to the Malba viscous, we have this beautiful pigeon pea, kajan in the Fabaceae family. This is an amazing nitrogen fixing pea shrub that is woody perennial and produces edible peas, edible beans that can be cooked or sprouted, and I hear that they can be made into an excellent tempeh. So kajan, excellent little shrub layer species for tropical and even subtropical forest gardens. Kajan, the pigeon pea. And right next door we have Schneidosculus aconita folius. So this is a nice woody shrub in the Euphorbiaceae family known as chaya, and it has wonderful edible greens that do need to be cooked. A lot of this genus Schneidosculus has some cyanide-like compounds to it, and does have that milky latex sap, and I will say that a lot of this family is pretty toxic. So this is one that I don't eat a ton of, but cooked properly, prepared properly, it is an excellent source of nutrition and exceptionally easy to grow from cuttings. So just take a stick and put it in the ground and you'll have a whole nother chaya plant. So Schneidosculus aconita folius, chaya in the Euphorbiaceae family. Here we can see a great example of why I feel that papayas, Carica papaya, could be a great plant to grow in a greenhouse. Here's a tree that's just a little over head high and absolutely loaded with fruit. So in underground greenhouses in temperate parts of the world, we could really grow a lot of food in a relatively small space with a tree that's very easy to grow. And of course here in the tropics, this is a food producer all year round. The green papayas make an excellent cooked vegetable. They can also be massaged in a dressing to make incredible green papaya salads, which are very popular in Thai cuisine and just so easy to grow. It's an amazing tree that can produce year-round for us. Carica papaya. Here we have another superstar tropical in the Euphorbiaceae family. This is Manioc esculenta. So this is what is known as cassava or yucca or manioc root. And this is just an incredibly easy plant to cultivate. You can see where this plant got pruned back and the cuttings got put in the ground, and it will just grow so easily from cuttings without requiring any kind of irrigation or special care, and each plant can produce upwards of 10 pounds per plant over the course of a growing season. The roots do have a cyanide-like compound in them, and they need to be processed immediately after harvesting or they'll become glassy and impossible to eat. But if you harvest them properly and process them properly, this is an incredible source of food, loaded with prebiotic fibers, incredible starches, and it's where we get tapioca from. It's just so nourishing, and with some processing, with some fermentation, it really is an incredible treat and an amazing plant to work with in culinary applications, because the way that the starch is, it's very sticky and tacky, and so it's excellent for creating gluten-free confections and baked goods and chips and all sorts of different things, filling that niche of gluten, being a sticky, tacky starch. So Manioc esculenta, the mighty cassava. And here's a big, beautiful macadamia. There's at least 3 species that are cultivated for nuts, so I'm not sure exactly which one this is, but being a genus from Australia, some of these trees tend to struggle here in Florida, and apparently this one doesn't do too great. There's also the never-ending pressure of squirrels and other animals who love the nuts just as much as we do. But it is quite an incredible tree, and definitely one worthy of further cultivation. I have heard stories of some doing very well here in Florida, so I think it's probably an issue of figuring out the right variety. Macadamias are a great example of a nice tropical nut that we can begin focusing on. I see in the Florida permaculture circles, the nut game is pretty weak, so macadamia is a great place to start. And here we see one of my all-time most beloved subtropical vegetables. This is chayote, Sechium ajule, or ajule. I absolutely love this plant. All parts of the plant are edible. The fruits, the leaves, the roots, and the shoots. And it's just a beautiful vining plant in the Cucurbitaceae family, so that's the cucumber family. And I just love this plant so much because it's so easy to grow. It'll just clamber and climb all over anything that you give it to climb, or it will sprawl across the ground as a nice ground cover. It loves rich, juicy, well-drained soil, and one of the big problems that it has down here in Florida is the issue of root rot. So you really want to mound these up nicely so that you keep the heart of the root well above the ground in some nice well-draining soil. But just an absolute superstar, and one that I love even growing up in Maryland, even though it's more of a subtropical plant. It will tolerate zone 7 winters if you give it enough mulch and enough protection over the winter, and then remove all of that in the springtime. So definitely an absolute favorite of mine, Sechium ajule, or chayote. Here we've got one big, burly, beautiful mulberry tree growing. So this is Morris is the genus, and this is probably Morris alba, the Chinese mulberry. This variety, being a broadleaf one, might be a Pakistani or a Tees. There's a lot of different varieties. There's one variety known as Shangri-La that the cuttings came from here. So this might be the very tree that the original cuttings of Shangri-La mulberry came from, which who knows what variety it is really, but here's one example of the amazing mulberries they have growing here at Shangri-La. Here we have one of my all-time favorite tropical fruit trees. This is one that's known as Canistel, or Poteria campiciana, and you can see this big beautiful fruit here. It's in the Sapotaceae family, and so it does have a latexy kind of sap, but goodness gracious, are the fruits absolutely incredible. It's kind of a fattier fruit, very thick and creamy, and that's how I got the name egg fruit, because the fruits are fatty and creamy and have just an absolutely great texture. So this is a great winter fruit and just an all-time favorite of mine as far as winter tropical fruits go. Potaria campechiana, Canistel or egg fruit. Here we're coming into what is more of kind of the lifeblood of this farm, if you will, the annual veggies, which really play a central role in this particular garden. The forest crops, they don't require as much care or as much maintenance, but they also don't get as much attention. And so to really bring crops to market that people appreciate and enjoy, it does take quite a bit of annual vegetable gardening here, and they do a great job at it. You can see all the happy kale and the beans that they've got growing, basil. Here we have a sugar apple that you can see is suffering to the smutty mildew. Beautiful little bridge, big patch of Monstera deliciosa, one of the cycads that grows down here in Florida. And here's a nice little vine of passion flower. Beautiful being. Or passion fruit, I should say. Nice little vine of passion fruit. The little nursery here. Shade cloth is really important for Florida nurseries because there's so much heat, and anything that we can do to take a little bit of the edge off of that summer sun is going to be very beneficial, especially for the young developing plants. And here we have Arborea carambola, the mighty star fruit, which does contain caramboxin, a neurotoxin. So I like to go easy on that one. I got to do more research on it before I really get excited about it. Here we have some pineapples. These are the pineapple plants here. They do not yet have any pineapples forming, but I'm sure they'll be coming on soon. Another type of the Malba viscous. This one with pink flowers, a pink flowered varietal. Sure who this is. Maybe a jackfruit. Sure does look like a jackfruit. I'm not seeing any fruits on it though, so it's tough to say. Here we have some nice sugar canes growing. Sugarcane is a super easy one to grow here in Florida, throughout the whole South. We've even seen videos of people cultivating it as far north as Georgia, and up in Maryland we've gotten some moderate success in greenhouses. So it is definitely one worth growing for those who like to have that level of sweetness in their life. One of the things I love about it is that you can have your sugar cane and eat it too. So what I mean by that is it's this space in between the nodes that we actually eat. And the nodes are what we use to propagate. It has these little points here where the roots will form. Those little dots will form into roots. And it's in the grass family, in the genus Saccharum. And just, yeah, super easy to grow. Beautiful plant. And highly productive, and we get to have our sugar cane and eat it too. So home run in my book. I love sugar cane. Here we have a beautiful avocado coming into full flower here. It's mid-February here in Bonita Springs, Florida. And you can see this avocado is just loaded with flowers, so this is going to be a very productive one this year. And this is in the Lauraceae family, Persea americana. Mighty avocado. God, I love these fruits. So easy to cultivate abundance here in the tropics. So here we have a great example of tropical jujube, which I believe the species is Ziziphus mauritiana. So the Mauritian jujube, you can see it is just super loaded with fruit, and these are very easy to grow. It's got big gnarly spines, so you want to be careful exactly where you plant it. But very easy to grow from cuttings. Loves this tropical heat much more so than the true Ziziphus jujube. But excellent addition to the garden nonetheless. Ziziphus mauritiana. So here we have a nice wall of a perennial cucumber known as Tindora, or Coccinea grandis is the binomial. Another name for it is the scarlet gourd, which you can see its namesake right here. But this is a nice, easy to grow perennial that has medicinal properties as well as some nice tasty little cucumbers. It's very similar to the Mexican gherkin or cucamelons. So the vibe is very similar to that. It's kind of a smaller little cucumber. You can see this one here. That's about full size. Sometimes they get a little bigger than that, but just for reference, you can see my hand right next to it. They do get a little bigger than that sometimes, but this is a nice one that's perennial in the tropics. So So here we are with the mighty Tamarindus indica, also known as tamarind, and this is a great leguminous tree in the Fabaceae family. Here with my buddy Zach Elfers, and he's gonna crack one open and demonstrate exactly how you eat one of these delicious treats.
Kind of awesome. I'm new to this plant. I just met this for the first time today, so I'm super stoked and excited. But they're kind of like peanuts. They got this thin layer, and you can just like peel off that skin real easy like that. And just like a peanut, there's beans inside of here, except they're covered in this delicious goo.
And you chew the goo and spit out the seed, right? That's the gist of it.
Here's the seed.
And that seed can turn into trees.
Here's another seed.
And those trees turn into more seeds.
And that flavor's amazing.
Indeed. And it's this is another one that has like kind of a chemical sweetness to it too, right? Like much like the black locust or locust bean gum, where it's not necessarily a glucose spiker. It doesn't spike the glucose, or maybe it does. Maybe there is sugar in there. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that more. But yeah, amazing food. And this is a nitrogen fixing tree as well, right?
Yep, it's a nitrogen fixing tree. A lot of the trees that are in the Fabaceae are nitrogen fixing. A lot of the plants are too. And it's also got this foliage that's really, it casts like a light shade. So with a pod like this, I would imagine that this tree probably evolved with megafauna. They like to eat these big fleshy seeds and all the fruits. So I can imagine this tree like growing in the savannah, you know, with the grasses underneath the canopy, light shade, lets all the grasses grow beneath the tree. It's like good. It's just like the OG silkworm. It's good for good for the ruminants and the grazers and other megafauna that want to come and eat these sweet fleshy pods.
Nice. So yeah, Tamarindus indica. The beautiful blessing of a tree that is tamarind. And here we have what is called the gummy worm tree, which I don't know too much about, but it sure does sound like the fruits are absolutely incredible, and I wouldn't mind trying it, even though I'm not such a big fruit person. The sound of a natural gummy worm coming off of a big beautiful tree is a little bit appealing. It definitely appeals to the sweet tooth deep in my heart that's still hanging on from my childhood. So thanks so much to Erica Klopf and the whole crew here, Cecilia and everybody else here at Shangri-La. Had a great time checking out the whole scene, and I hope you all enjoyed this nice little video tour. Peace, family.